Stop me if you've heard this one before. The New York Knicks needed someone to step up in the clutch. They got it from Jalen Brunson. They got it from OG Anunoby. They came through with a tight win. That's right. But this time it happened in Miami. I'm getting into it right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And I'd like to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day. Whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube, we appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that auto download function on your favorite podcast app or notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And on today's episode, I'll be getting into the latest clutch Knicks win. Just they keep coming. 116-112 in overtime over Miami in this one. OG Anunoby just absolutely dominated this game on both ends of the floor. So I want to talk about him. I want to talk about Jalen Brunson, his huge contributions in the second half and overtime. A little bit of an off night for Cat, and the interior defense was not fantastic overall in this one. So talk about that a little bit, plus a bunch more, including another good game for Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson having a couple highlights, lots of good stuff coming up. But also, if today's podcast isn't enough for you, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Knicks Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. All right, let's start getting into this 116-112 win over Miami for the Knicks. I want to just real quick apologize again. My voice is still a little fried. I've been dealt with a cold all weekend that has made my my voice not so great. But I will do my best to keep it under control. I'll maybe I could pretend. I was actually in Miami. I was screaming along with all the Knicks fans that were there and took over the arena there. That's why my voice is so fried. But yeah, this was an interesting game. The Knicks went down 19. They looked very lethargic. The interior defense really was not looking good. The Heat, I think, only missed 2 shots in the paint in the whole first half, and they outscored the Knicks 40-20 in the paint, which is just unacceptable for a Tibbs coach team. I mean, forget about it. Like, you cannot be giving up that many interior points. I get the feeling that he probably was not very happy with them going into the half. It still was not perfect after the half, but they made it look better. I mean, it was just Cat honestly was the one that looked the most lethargic to me. I think that he just sort of set the tone there where it was a lot of hands down defense. He didn't look very engaged on that end, and not really on the offensive end either. But then you didn't get that huge boost that you might have been expecting from Mitch either. I don't want to get too much into that in the first segment because there's fun things to be talking about, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Just the fact that the interior defense did not look fantastic, but OG Anunoby's defense looked amazing, especially in the second half. Almost by himself, runs the Knicks back on this 13-0 run in the third quarter that brings them within striking distance again. I mean, just his defense was phenomenal. Jalen Brunson scores 26 between the second half and overtime of his 31. So only had 5 points in the first half, gets 26 in the second half and overtime. Just another virtuoso second half and clutch time performance for him. But I also want to comment real quick before I forget just on how crazy the atmosphere was in this one for technically a road game for the Knicks. I mean, they may as well have been at home in this game. It was kind of crazy, like the amount that the Knicks fans took over, and the poor PA announcer and the people running the technical side of the in-arena experience probably must have been like, oh, what do we even do to shut these guys up, basically. Knicks fans, whenever the Knicks were on defense in the second half, they were chanting defense so loud that it would drown out any attempt at a let's go Heat chant. And then I'm pretty sure, I can't say with 100% certainty, maybe I was just hearing what I wanted to hear, but I'm pretty sure that they even start hijacking those. So when the Heat would be playing the like boom, boom, boom to get people to start going, let's go Heat. I'm pretty sure that Knicks fans co-opted that and turned it into beat the Heat, the classic Knicks chant. I think that was mostly what I was hearing. I was hearing "beat the Heat" rather than "let's go Heat." So that was crazy. And then the amount that they were cheering the Deuce chants, the MVP chants for Jalen Brunson, "Let's go Knicks" chants going, like when they were trying to get defense chants going on the other side. I mean, it was easily the most thorough takeover of a road arena this side of like the Wizards where like they don't get a lot of attendance just because they're really bad right now, but like for a team that's like in the playoff picture, to have this level of takeover, kind of embarrassing. I would be kind of embarrassed if I was a Heat player, to be honest. But yeah, crazy stuff. It makes me, honestly, flights to Miami are pretty cheap. It makes me really tempted to fly down there and experience one of these games one time just for the fun of it, because it really sounded like a home game for the Knicks. And nobody fed off of that, I guess, more than OG Anunoby. Maybe you could say Jalen Brunson, but I think OG deserves the game ball in this one and the first segment shout out. 23 points, 9 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 9 of 18 shooting, 4 of 9 from 3 for OG. I'm maybe this is going out on a limb. Maybe I'm a little too just remembering that run too much in the third quarter, but I think this is in the running for OG's best game as a Knick. I think it's definitely one of his most impactful. During the 13-0 run by the Knicks in the third that got them back in the game, he was just playing some crazy individual defense. I mean, just blowing up everything that the Heat were trying to do. Probably the most impressive is one to me that didn't even show up on the box score, but he had this crazy bit of one-on-one defense with Haywood Highsmith on the sideline where he pinned Highsmith to the sideline, and normally that just results in like quick timeout or something, or a player managing to get the ball off to one of his teammates. But OG just used that like all-encompassing wingspan that he had or has to just completely, box Highsmith in on the sideline, and eventually managed to reach around and without reaching in, tap the ball, get Highsmith to lose it, and then he lost it off his leg out of bounds. I mean, just a crazy show of defensive acumen from OG there, and just like the perfect marriage of like the physical gifts that he has with the savvy that he has as a defender. I thought that was, and I mean, that was the play that got him the most fired up too. This is probably like the most emotional that I've seen OG like in a game as a Knick. I mean, he got that, and then he said something and then like mean mugged his way right down the other end of the court. Like he was definitely like not trying to hang around there at all, but like was excited to kind of like trash talk, get back on offense. And he was scoring a lot during that run too. I didn't take down exactly how many points he had, but he scored a number of the buckets during that 13-0 run as well. Just a crazy OG sequence. Also had a really key sequence late with a block on Hero. He blocked a Hero 3 late in the game, kind of a Mitch-esque block there right on the perimeter. And that turned into Brunson points. So that was huge. And then also got a tip in with 55 seconds left to get the Knicks within 2. That was the play that Eric Spoelstra in his post-game comments basically said that was the moment that the Heat lost the game, was that tip in, because it was just kind of backbreaking. Like, and OG just had all kinds of backbreaking plays in this game. He was really killing it. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think this arguably, I mean, I know he scored more. I know that he's had more stocks in a game, whatever, but like I think this was maybe his most impactful game as a Knick. This was maybe the one time in his Knick career so far that I would say like he almost by himself took over a game, and won it for the Knicks. And I mean, that's bold to say considering all the damage that Brunson did, in the second half and then into overtime and late in this game. But I don't think that they're in that position late unless OG goes on that bonkers run in the third quarter, plays that defense, fires this team up, gets everybody going. It was a phenomenal effort from him. So to me, I think he deserves to get the game ball out of this game and all that recognition. Just a phenomenal OG game, phenomenal stretch of OG games. Obviously, the game winner the other night as well. Hopefully this continues. Hopefully this is just what the second half is going to look like for him. Because if it is, then that changes things a lot for the Knicks. I mean, there's been issues with both OG and Mikal with like the ups and the downs of the season so far, and that both of them have shown the ability to really impact things at their best, but really kind of disappear at their worst. And we've seen a number of times where OG has kind of disappeared. Lately, he seems like he's on a different level as far as his like mental commitment to the game, I guess. Not to say that he like wasn't into it before or anything like that, but like he just seems more locked in at this particular moment and more interested in taking over games and having the big moments and stuff like that. So um I think that's going to be important for the Knicks going down the stretch of the season, because Brunson can't do it himself. Cat can't do it himself, as we saw in this game. I mean, Cat had, in my opinion, not a great game, even though the stats looked pretty good. So, yeah, OG stepping up like this, especially as Mikal is kind of struggling again a little bit, they're really huge. They need at least one of those two guys to be, at a high level all the time. Hopefully, both of them, but we'll see how that all goes as the rest of the season goes on. But I want to talk about Jalen Brunson, who had 31 points and 26 in the second half, who I've barely gotten to yet. So let's get into Jalen Brunson's day. Deuce McBride having some key minutes down the close of this game. Cat's kind of off day. Mitch and Hart and what they were able to do in this game. So lots more to talk about next on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to let you know about our friends over at FanDuel. And when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Probably should have bet on that fourth quarter comeback for the Knicks in this one. That would have been a smart play. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature. It keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, back in, continuing talking through this big overtime win for the Knicks, 116-112 over Miami in Miami. Although, again, could have fooled me. Felt like New York to me, at least as far as what the crowd sounded like. Jalen Brunson, maybe one of the guys that was able to feed off of that energy. 31 points, 6 assists, 5 boards, 2 steals, shot 13 of 25 overall. Only 3 of 11 from 3, but made some when it counted. Had a 3 early where it just kind of spilled out to him, but had a really nice one late in overtime. Managed to hit a 3 there that was just exactly when the Knicks needed it. Of course, when they needed it to take the lead and then never give that lead up. That was when Jalen Brunson comes through, hits that 3. So, I'm not gonna bemoan an off day from 3 when he comes through with every single other thing that you need. He really is just like, I'm going to go out so far as to say at this particular snapshot in time, he is like the clutchest man in sports right now. I mean, it's just crazy. This guy, if he doesn't win the clutch player of the year this year in the NBA, like first off, kind of a silly award if I'm being for real, but like if he doesn't win it, then we know that the awards are rigged or something, because there's absolutely no way he should not be winning that award this year. He just, every single time the Knicks need him to make a key shot down the stretch of a game, he makes it. And that was no different in this one. I mean, he came through with late buckets in the fourth, buckets in the overtime when the Knicks really needed it, and then even he didn't have the like kind of dagger bucket of the overtime, but he had the one that put them ahead, and then he had, with all the attention that he gathered, managed to get it to Josh Hart for what ended up kind of being the dagger that put the Knicks up a couple possessions late, and hit him for a layup when the entire 5-man defense collapsed on him because of the amount of attention that he requires at this point. But that time wasn't the coolest one that he threw in this game. It was the most functional, but I mean, he threw one of his coolest assists of the year also in this one, a complete no look behind the back pass to Hart underneath for a layup. And, it was just kind of one of those where like Brunson was drawing a lot of attention from the defense and Hart just kind of got away from his man and was completely alone under the hoop. Brunson sees that, pretends like he's going to start going out the other way and taking the ball back out, and then just slings a nice little pass behind the back, bounce pass, just dead on to Josh Hart. Just kind of, if you needed a further indication of how far Brunson has come as a passer this year, that was it. I mean, just a gorgeous dime to Josh Hart to get an easy 2 there. Love that play from him. But offensively, I mean, he was completely unstoppable. I mean, I could explain all of his moves to anyone, but you've seen most of them. He just sauces guys up. He has great start stop ability. He has, phenomenal pivot and inside game. But I thought that it was particularly impressive in this one that the Heat tried throwing a lot of different guys at him, and nobody was able to make anything happen. Like they threw Davion Mitchell at him. They had Haywood Highsmith on him, who maybe did the best job, but still did not do fantastic. Tyler Hero was on him for some possessions. It didn't matter at all. I mean, Brunson just toasted whoever was on him, was able to create whatever space. He's just got I feel like he's got like the handbook to beat any defender at this point. It's almost like when you see like in baseball that, pitchers and hitters for that matter, but like guys, on both ends of that relationship will have all kinds of notes on one another of like, oh, this can beat this guy, hit him with a slider here, try to work him early in the count, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like Brunson has that same sort of Rolodex in his head of like, I know exactly how everyone in the league defends, and I know how to beat a guy like a Davion Mitchell. I know how to beat a guy like a Haywood Highsmith. They're wildly different players to get thrown at me in the same game, and yet I could just toast either one of them because I know how to beat a small spunky guard. I know how to beat a long lengthy wing that's going to try to disrupt my shots that way. He's got the full playbook. This game was just kind of a perfect encapsulation of that. But yeah, and then of course in overtime he scores 6 of the team's 11 points. He's the clutch man. He's Captain Clutch. There's no getting around it at this point. This guy's the clutchest player in the NBA, perhaps in sports at this particular moment. But Deuce McBride had some clutch moments of his own. 12 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 3 of 7 from 3. Got 30 and a half minutes of playing time, which was more than Mikal Bridges in this game. So Deuce got 30 and a half minutes. Mikal got like 28. Deuce also got lots of fourth quarter run over Mikal. And Mikal was having a tough game shooting the ball. I think he was like 2 of 11 overall in this game. Just not the best offensive showing for him. And Deuce was hitting on offense and giving you, the same level of play, if not better, on defense. So Tibbs, to his credit, went with him late in this game. And maybe this was kind of a turning point for Deuce McBride, because there's been a number of times this year where Deuce has been playing really well. And it would seem like, hey, maybe he should be playing over like a Mikal Bridges or even like a Josh Hart in certain games or whatever to close games. And yet, Tibbs will usually just pull him out because that's what the script says to do. Did not do that in this game. He let him play, let him close out the fourth, like let him get lots of playing time in this one. And, Deuce paid him off with 5 points of his own in the fourth. Like Jalen Brunson, obviously it was his show, but Deuce had 5 points in the fourth, had a nice little toasting of Hero for a mini at one point. That was fun to see. Hit a big 3 in the fourth as well. So I also thought he played some great D on Hero. Hero had it's funny because my impression before I looked at the box score was like, oh, Hero had a really great first half and then not so great of a second half. He actually scored 11 in both. But when you look at what it took for him to get those points, it becomes clear like it was Deuce made a difference, and the way that Hero was able to make his way to 11 points in one half versus the other was completely different. First half he shot 5 of 9. Second half he shoots 3 of 12. So made it up a little bit at the free throw line, but was taking more shots, missing more shots. So he was trying to get hotter than 11 points. He was trying to affect this game late. was not able to, thanks to some great defense. I mean, I already referenced the OG block on him late in the game, so that was a great play by OG, but Deuce also played him fantastic. According to NBA stats, Hero was 1 of 6 over the course of the game when Deuce was covering him overall, which was, especially for someone who covered him that much, the best on the team in this game without much issue. So yeah, definitely a great game for Deuce. Maybe a turning point, maybe a point where he's earned Tibbs's trust in a different way than he previously had it. Where now Tibbs is going to entertain the possibility of leaving Deuce in there late in games if he's really affecting winning like he was in this one. So great to see for Deuce. Maybe not as great was Karl-Anthony Towns' performance, which even though he had a 19.16 rebound double-double, which on paper looks amazing, I thought this was one of his less impressive games in a while. And I don't want to say concerning on a grand scheme of things, but just overall, I was not a huge fan of his approach in this one. So I'm going to get into that in just a moment before we close out the show. But first, I want to let you know about a great deal from our friends at DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24 to 25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So here's a few ways you could take advantage of this deal. You get a game day feast. How about after an epic 50-point performance by someone, celebrate by ordering some wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered right to your door? Or maybe some late night cravings. I try to stay away from these, but sometimes I just can't resist. Whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, maybe the next time the Knicks are on a West Coast trip, those West Coast games kind of hard to get through without a midnight snack. Use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Or you can fuel your watch party if you want to plan to catch the next game with all your friends. Order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right, let's finish talking through this big Knicks win, 116 to 112 over Miami. And I want to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns. I feel like I've already crapped on the poor guy so much already, just getting to this point of saying, hey, I kind of was disappointed in this game from him, but it was kind of a letdown. I mean, the last time that the Knicks faced the Heat in Miami, Cat was like the catalyst, so to speak. But I'll be here all week. But he was he was the guy, in the last game between these two teams. And this one, I mean, especially the first half, he was just very disinterested looking to me. I couldn't quite put my finger on why. I mean, he just right from the start seemed like was not interested in playing defense on the inside at all. Like he would kind of make the motion towards helping. The Heat were doing a good job of, utilizing the pick and roll, whatever, getting downhill, getting inside. And, the Knicks defenders were having a little bit of a hard time keeping up with them, whether it was Bridges, Anunoby early, lost a couple guys off of that, whatever. And Hero was getting inside. I think Davion Mitchell got in a couple times, whatever. Like these guys were getting inside, and to say nothing of the fact that Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo kind of had a field day too in the first half. But Cat just kind of seemed weirdly passive about the whole thing. Didn't seem, and maybe he was just trying to avoid fouling, I guess. Maybe he was annoyed by the lack of foul calls that he was getting on the offensive end. I mean, I would argue that maybe he had a point there, and yet this seemed like the most animated and the most, I guess, the most angry he was getting about it in recent times, where he just he let it affect him elsewhere on the floor, I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that it was just kind of a weird first half. He was kind of settling for long threes a few times and wasn't in a particular rhythm to be doing that. Normally when he goes to that way longer three, it's because he's already hit a couple and he's kind of feeling it. And it's all right, let's see if we got the range out 5 feet beyond the 3-point line, see if we could hit a 30-footer or whatever. Just it didn't really seem like that was the case. It just almost seemed like he was eager to have the possession over with or whatever. I don't know. But it was just a little weird. Now, like all that said, he still managed 19 and 16 on good efficiency. I mean, I guess that's the other thing. He wasn't particularly aggressive, like 6 of 11 from the field. Um, is a good percentage wise. That'll look great on your stat sheet, but just he didn't seem to be attacking as much, especially in the first half. Now, granted, he did remedy that in the second half, which was great. Managed to get inside for a big dunk at one point, all that good stuff. So, he remedied things in the second half. He came through down the stretch, more so than the first half, but just wish we would have gotten that for the whole game from him, because then maybe the Knicks aren't in that huge deficit early on if, he was able to defend the inside a little better. I don't know. From a Tibbs perspective, he's been alluding to the fact that, the two big lineup will be happening at some point with Mitch and Cat, but I would have thought that this game would have been the one to try it, like with Bam and Ware out there. Um, I thought that Tibbs might have given that a shot. He didn't end up doing it. Like Mitch would only come in for Cat and vice versa. Mitch had an okay showing as well. 2 points, 2 boards, a block in 13 minutes. I mean, not as eye popping as his first game back the other day. I likewise in the first half, I didn't think he provided quite the uptick in D when Cat went out that I thought he was going to. So that was it, I guess sort of a bummer, I mean, not a huge deal. He's still working his way back in. I thought that was pretty obvious in this one. He still seems maybe a little unsure of himself, like of getting into too physical of situations. And especially like maybe of his timing and whatever. I wonder if he was maybe worried a little bit about like fouling or whatever, but I feel like if anyone should not be worried about fouling right now, it should be Mitch. Like because he's only playing like 15 minutes a game. So if you foul 3 times in 15 minutes, that's not a huge deal because it's not like your team is like relying on you to, be the starting center right now. Like at this particular moment, it's like he's kind of just working his way back in. So I'd almost prefer that he get over aggressive on defense right now, kind of get his timing back. But he seemed a little passive, like maybe he was being a little cautious about fouling or still just isn't quite sure on his feet yet, and I can understand that. Like as someone who's dealt with normal people ankle issues, like you get a little gun shy, when you've sprained your ankle or in Mitch's case, broken his ankle a couple times now. You don't want to step on someone's foot or something or start getting too vertical because verticality leads more to, the potential of landing on someone's foot or, having Joel Embiid grab your leg and pull you down while you're midair. All those things. There's all kinds of things to be scared of, although not Joel Embiid anymore since he's out for the season. So and Mitch can rest easy there at least. But yeah, he did get more comfortable as the game went on, though. Had a really phenomenal climb the ladder block versus Hero, where Hero got by Deuce late in this game and was going up for a layup and, went up for a righty layup. Deuce was still sort of in between him and the basket. So Hero had to go like high angle off the glass, or at least that's what he was attempting to do until Mitch just crashed in out of nowhere and ended up behind Deuce and then just got one of those big long arms up there, got his hand on the ball and managed to block that high layup attempt at a really high point in its ascent, which was crazy. It was cool to watch Mitch, really get up there, climb the ladder like that again. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Also just hustled his butt off too. So, even if I thought that he was still a little unsure of himself on the inside, like as far as jumping up for blocks, rebounds, whatever, he had 2 really great loose ball saves where, the ball I think both times it was just kind of like missed dribbles by the Knicks where, they were losing the ball and then it looked like the Heat were all over it. And then Mitch would just kind of like fly in out of nowhere, dive onto the ground, get, the ball like he was trying to go after like a fumble in the NFL. Led to at least one jump ball. I don't think the second one ended up becoming a jump ball. I think he actually was able to get that one out if I remember correctly. But just great hustle from Mitch. So like it's good to see like, that's the sort of play you're going to get out of him. Like he's going to go out there, he's going to give it his all. He's going to give you everything that he can. And, I think once he gets more comfortable in his skin again over these next like 4 or 5 games, like it'll probably take anywhere between like 5 and 10 games for him to get like back to himself. But whenever we get to that point, like A, I want to see that too big alignment because I want to see how that works. But B, this guy is going to give you like really good minutes, and I think it's invaluable to have him back for the Knicks because it's just like Precious did a good enough job holding down the fort, but I think Mitch is going to give them a different level off the bench or as a starter. If they try this too big alignment out and it really works, I do really think that there's a world where they can start in close games with Mitch and Cat out there. Depending on the matchup, obviously, they have a lot of options, which is nice, but we'll see how that goes as time goes on. Lastly, I just wanted to shout out Josh Hart. Had a very low key 14-point game. I mean, I already mentioned had the dagger layup late in this game where it put the Knicks up 4 in overtime. I think that was probably the moment where you could kind of breathe out, and ultimately the Knicks ended up winning. After that, he had some pretty fancy moves on the inside. I really liked this little like spinning hook shot that he hit at one point. He drove in. I forget who was defending him, but to shake them, just kind of like he got inside and then pulled a little spin move, and then just on his landing, like at the end of his spin, just kind of stopped on a dime and then flipped up this nice little hook shot there. I thought that was really aesthetically pleasing. But he kind of went into the bag of tricks a little bit with a couple shots like that, a couple of floaters and stuff like that. So nice use of bag by Josh Hart. Really enjoyed watching him in this one. Not a triple double or anything, not one of his more flashy games, but one where he provided that scoring that they needed. I mean, really just a crazy balanced game overall for the Knicks here, as far as the scoring went. I mean, they had, by the time all was said and done, looking right now, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures, and it was not the starters for once. So Deuce McBride manages to be that fifth guy. But just a really well-rounded effort where it was just like 31 points for Brunson, then 23 for OG, 19 for Cat, 14 for Hart, 12 for Deuce, and then 5 each for Mikhail and Payne and Precious, Payne and Shamit, and then just the 2 points for Mitchell Robinson. But a nice game overall. Anyway, that's it for this one. I will go drink some tea or something and hopefully get my voice right for the next episode here. But until next time, thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace out, everybody.